Next, young and old live together in a model program at Westminster Thurber Village. Then, house sharing and what it means for affordable housing for young and old. And later, changing the rules to encourage intergenerational living.
Support for Columbus Neighborhoods is provided by...
At American Electric Power, we've been proud sponsors of WOSU Public Media for many years and strong supporters of our headquarters city here in Columbus, both downtown and in neighborhoods like yours.
State Auto Insurance Companies, transforming to become a digital provider of auto, home, and business insurance. And for nearly 100 years, committed to the people and neighborhoods of Central Ohio. State Auto. The Columbus Foundation. Smart philanthropy for a smart city. ColumbusFoundation.org. Bailey Cavalieri. Your relationship with your law firm doesn't need to be complicated, it just needs to be right. CODA. Keeps our community moving forward. Falgren Moortime Marketing and Communications. Think wider. Ohio Health focuses on you and your family with a mission to improve the health of our communities. Women in Philanthropy at Ohio State, changing lives by giving together. And by contributions from these and other Columbus area families who support WOSU. Thank you.
Ah, darn. Well, as baby boomers grow older and Columbus's population ages, many people are exploring the difference between aging and aging well. In this episode, we're going to look at where and how people live as they grow older. Our first story is about intergenerational living. Many independent living centers across the country provide internships for university students who are studying older populations. But OSU's College of Social Work partnered with Age-Friendly Columbus and decided to try one better, to actually house a student right here at Ohio Living Westminster Thurber Independent Living Complex. So how did a 20-something student living among the retired set fare? Well, let's find out.
Little tiny villages here.
We were informed that we were going to have a college student moving in with us.
Hi, Dorothy. How are you? Fine. I didn't know that you knew my dad. It's been really great.
And then when I found out she was living 2 doors down from me, I thought, well, that'll be fun. I will get to meet her. And then I was asked to be one of her 2 mentors. And I was just honored.
They've been so kind. When I first moved in here, I got like 10 letters under my door who said, welcome to Westminster Thurber. We're so excited to have you here. We're excited to be your neighbor.
The Age-Friendly Student in Residence program is an initiative of the OSU College of Social Work through the Age-Friendly Columbus and Franklin County effort in partnership with Ohio Living and Westminster Thurber.
The first thing that I thought of was, how can we get young people to love older adults? How can we get them to love this industry, which is so incredible? And through Holly and Age-Friendly and my team, we came up with the idea of having a student in residence program.
We get to have meals with her and talk more casually and ask her about things that she can help us with.
You have to navigate a different way of communicating with them sometimes. Someone who's 90 and when you're 20, you know, there's 70 years difference there. And so sometimes you have to kind of navigate like ways to relate to them. And you really learn to serve the other person. So I didn't realize that there was so many, that residents were so engaged in this place, and that residents will go to 5 or 6 activities a day, or you know, they'll do something in the morning and then take a little break and then do something in the afternoon, or they'll run errands, or, so I didn't expect it to be so busy.
And are you there to study me, or are you really my neighbor, or are you going to judge what I do? Having those kinds of supports in place so that a student wasn't coming in to impose who they are into this community, but instead to engage in the community, hear what people are interested in, and thinking about how to develop relationship as a neighbor.
One thing that Natalie has done is her back porch stories. She just gets a group of people together, up to 10, some of the groups would be smaller, I'm sure, and she just throws out questions. And we got to know her, and she got to know us in ways that we just never would have otherwise, and we residents got to know each other in different ways.
I attend a group called Current Events, and I said I don't usually read the newspaper, and he said, well, I'm going to change that, and he gives me the New York Times every day after he reads it. They're the friendliest neighbors, you know. I've actually talked to some of them about career advice, about their past experiences and how I can use that.
I heard her mention in conversation that she's learned a lot of patience since she's lived here. And we all have to learn that patience when we live here because we are in a communal setting. Even among residents, we're of different generations. Some of us can move more quickly and process more quickly, and others, just by virtue of age, are a little slower. Patience in any situation we find ourselves in is critical to achieving real relationship.
The residents have also just taught me to take things slowly and be in the present. I tend to be a person that's very intense and loves to be busy, but they've taught me how to relax, really, and just to be like, it's okay to take a break. Like, it's okay to do some things and then take a break and take time for yourself, which I think is a really important skill, especially with social work, you know, setting boundaries. It's really important to do that.
I think the College of Social Work's principal role is to provoke creativity, to get people talking to each other that maybe haven't done that before, and to just think about what's possible. We've always seen aging as not a problem to be solved. Aging is a tremendous opportunity. There are a lot of assets in our aging and in our older adults. And we also take the view that our traditional approach to how we're thinking about aging really isn't going to work in the long term. Too many of us are hitting that gray-haired moment, particularly in Ohio. But again, it's really not a problem to be solved. It's like, what could be possible with older adults as partners?
She's going to be the next student in residence here.
I'm excited to share that our next student is involved in city planning. And what can that student bring to this campus as we design spaces for older adults?
I think I'm hoping to learn what older adults really want. So being in the planning program and at work, I do a lot of planning around aging, and that's sort of a new forefront in the planning field. And so being able to be here and talk with residents and just truly know how their everyday lives are in this city will be really helpful.
I think there's this stigma that to work in such places, it's not rewarding, and that the people that you're interacting with are a burden. I think a lot of people view older adults as a burden, when in reality they're the most amazing people I've ever met.
We like to feel that we still matter in the world.
And I just hope other campuses do it because it has brought so much joy.
So I think we all have things to learn from each other, and that's the benefit of mixing the generations. So instead of it being a one-way street, it's a two-way street, and that is a much better basis for connection and for true relationship.
Next, house sharing just might be the answer to the affordable housing crisis. Then, the challenges and successes of intergenerational living. Many older homeowners ask, what do I do with this house? They want to stay in the place that's been home to them for so long, but they may have more house than they need or can afford. That's why some older residents are thinking about renting out rooms. But what are the pitfalls and what are the opportunities of house sharing? Producer Brent Davis sat down with an entrepreneur out of Boston who has a revolutionary idea that just might solve two problems with one technology.
Noelle, thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Well, what is Nesterly and how does it work?
So Nesterly is a service and an online platform that makes it safe and easy to home share with another generation. The way it works is if you're an older homeowner, you can sign up and create a profile and just share with us that you have an extra room in your home and that you want to open it up for an affordable rent to a younger person. Safety is our #1 priority, so all of our users go through a multi-step screening process, which includes a complete application, a full background checks, which is a national and local criminal background check, and we also check at least 2 references. So that's just the beginning of the process. Before anyone kind of joins our community, they have to go through a rigorous screening process with us.
What's the difference between Nesterly and other home sharing sites? What makes Nesterly unique?
So Nesterly is unlike any service that exists in the world right now. We partner with cities and local organizations from day one. We also use technology and our customer support team to make sure it's a really easy, simple, safe way to home share and rent a room. And it's a scalable platform that can work for communities across the country.
Tell us how you got the idea and how you started Nesterly.
So I started Nesterly while I was a grad student at MIT. I was there studying affordable housing, civic innovation, and entrepreneurship. And I realized that there were over 54 million spare bedrooms sitting empty every night. I had originally been really passionate about increasing the supply of affordable housing, but as I started working with the MIT Age Lab and digging into the research and realizing that most of those spare bedrooms are actually in the homes of older adults, that I realized there's an even bigger challenge here that we can help solve. 2 weeks after I graduated MIT, I had a signed partnership with the city of Boston to launch a pilot locally.
What's the rollout been like in Boston? What have you learned in the process?
Yeah, so the city of Boston and the Age-Friendly Boston have been incredible partners to us. We launched a pilot with them that's been incredibly successful, and there's a large community of people that are really excited about the opportunity to do this and the opportunity to do it in a safe, legal way, where their cities are on board, their neighbors are doing it, and it's a really great way to both get some extra income with the rising cost of living, rising property taxes, but also to feel like you're contributing to the community. You're helping a young person get a leg up in their life, and really adding additional affordable housing to a really tight housing stock.
I had lost my husband 3 years ago. I was lonely, and that I was also looking for a little bit of extra income. I thought it was a wonderful idea, matching an older person with a younger one. I was lucky enough to find a young woman whose background matches mine in some ways. She loves literature, she loves poetry, and she loves cats, which is even more wonderful. So I feel very blessed to have Sarah in my life. I think the people at Nesterly have made themselves very available, which is wonderful. If I needed to ask questions, I could always get in touch with somebody, and it's turned out to be a wonderful solution. Even more than a solution, a great life change.
Talk to us about your interest in rolling out Nesterly here in Columbus.
We've heard from the City of Columbus and Age-Friendly Columbus, and we're actually in conversation with the city and county right now, looking into rolling out this solution and making it available to the city and residents of Columbus, Ohio. There's over 27,000 spare bedrooms in Columbus in the homes of baby boomers today. And older adults are the fastest growing population in the city of Columbus, as well as the city of Boston, and across the country. It's the fastest growing population. So we're just going to see more and more older adults who could potentially benefit from this.
What are your hopes for Nesterly as a way to combat rising housing costs across the nation?
There are over 54 million spare bedrooms today. Imagine what that could do if we could unlock and encourage just 10% of those households to open up an extra room. In cities right now, in inexpensive cities and governments are spending $500,000 to build one new unit of affordable housing. So with a platform like this, when you think about the 27,000 spare bedrooms in the homes of older adults in Columbus, that's a massive, massive opportunity for the city. And it's just a much more efficient and intuitive way of building new units of affordable housing without any construction costs. I don't think that we can build ourselves out of this housing crisis.
Noelle, thanks so much for telling us about this really great project, Nesterly, and we look forward to seeing how it progresses.
Thank you very much.
Intergenerational living may be an idea whose time has come, but long-standing building codes and other regulations may be an impediment. We sent Javier out to talk with leaders who have given a lot of thought to aging well. Have a look.
We're at Flowers and Bread in Clintonville for lunch. Like the name says, flowers are a big part of the experience, and co-owner Tricia Wheeler has brought her love of gardening and cooking together in one unique space. Stop by for a seasonal scone or sit down for a bowl of soup and a sandwich made with homemade artisanal bread. You can even take classes on how to make handmade pies or delights for a British tea. Michelle Misler is the director of the Franklin County Office on Aging. Patty Callahan is from the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging. And Joella Klein is the Chief of Staff at the Franklin County Auditor's Office. We're here to talk about how to promote intergenerational living. From house sharing to independent living, how do we get the old and younger closer together?
Now, we know that the older adult population in Franklin County is growing at a pretty fast rate. Now, what are some of the problems or challenges that seniors are facing when it comes to housing here in Franklin County, Patty?
Well, for most seniors, the seniors anyway that are contacting us at the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging are primarily in housing crises. They're really being priced out of housing if they're living on just a modest Social Security income, or for some people it's a disability income, and those incomes don't really get any significant increases, and while the rents, because of our strong rental market, are continuing to go up.
When a senior or older adult is in crisis when it comes to housing, how are they accessing the resources, or how are they aware of the resources that they have available to them to deal with the issue?
So at the Franklin County Office on Aging, we operate a phone line that is resource-based. So any person over the age of 60 or their caregiver who needs services and resources can call our office at 614-525-6200 and get access to a live person who's going to help them navigate resources.
And then for adults, older adults who own their homes, another issue that has started pricing them out is rising property taxes. And so at the Franklin County Auditor's Office, we're interested in connecting older adults with our homestead exemption, which basically shaves $25,000 off the value of their home and lowers their property taxes.
The Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging has a small team of people, mostly social workers, who provide general information and assistance also on community resources. And so we are a good starting point, but we're not necessarily the answer, because the answer is more housing for people with extremely low incomes, and we just don't have it.
As our county explores options and we look at intergenerational living, how do we address the residential codes and some of the maybe barriers or boundaries to exploring that as an option?
With rooming houses, I think there are some limitations regarding numbers of occupants, probably based on the square footage of your home. And it's something that if intergenerational housing or rooming houses would become a solution for affordable housing for older adults, that's something that would have to be visited by Columbus City Council.
The other thing that I know that age-friendly Columbus and Franklin County is often in conversation about is a concept called accessible dwelling units. Mm-hmm. So building almost like a tiny home on the backside or in the yard of a larger home. So kind of a mother-in-law suite. Right. And sometimes I think, zoning.
That is a zoning issue.
Yeah, zoning issues do impact that type of a model, but are other parts of the country, those things are working. And so there's room for us to explore how to make that happen in Columbus, to determine if there's a market for folks to do that, if that's of interest. But I know that can be a solution, as well as home sharing.
Are there any other counties or communities or even cities in the state of Ohio that are making progress and headway into dealing with this issue that you all are aware of and paying attention to?
Well, I'm talking with a woman out in the Newark area who has some rooming houses. And she is renting to both seniors as well as college students, and I think that's a wonderful mix there. They just get to know each other's lives are like, mm-hmm. And can perhaps provide some informal support to each other too. So it'd be wonderful if we could get back to where people had a little more opportunities for socialization and that sort of thing.
Right. So it's not just a financial issue that we're talking about. It's about members of the community that actually care about them and forming new relationships.
Being able to ask your neighbor for some help with your cell phone, just things like that. That would, a younger person that not to stereotype, but might be a little more tech savvy. So.
One of the solutions that is working in Franklin County is the village model. So how do we get back to a community type of environment where we do rely upon our neighbors, and so older adults can connect into villages, which is essentially just older adults who want to be a part of a social network. They want to utilize volunteer services and things of that nature. But the one thing that we hear from older adults a lot is the importance of not compartmentalizing folks away from the other generations. Mm-hmm. So ensuring that when we build housing, when we think about housing solutions for older adults, that it's not, over here in the corner, that they're part of a community of many generations to share the learning.
And considering, thinking about the housing that we're building and affordable housing that we're building, making it accessible to older adults is vital as well, and taking into consideration how people age and the challenges that they're going to come up against as they get older, taking that into account when you're actually building the affordable housing.
So when we talk about intergenerational living and house sharing, a lot of times we only think of it from the perspective of middle class people having those opportunities. How do we make that available or accessible to lower income earners?
I think that, the home sharing model really speaks to creating a model that's inclusive of all incomes. Those of means could be the renters to individuals, and it really creates an inclusivity that doesn't exist in our society today, where we co-share and co-live with folks of different means, and we just become humans living with humans. Personally, I think it's just a beautiful type of model if it's something that individuals are choosing, because we're all choosing to age in place. And that's the reality. That's different than it was 10, 15 years ago. And as that happens, we have to be thinking of solutions that are really addressing the new challenges that aging in place, creates. So.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, this has been an exciting conversation and encouraging. And, I love finding or discovering new reasons to be proud of our county and our city. And so I thank you all for sharing one more reason why I can call myself a proud resident of Franklin County and Columbus, Ohio. So I appreciate you all spending time with me today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being with us. And remember, you can catch all of our episodes on columbusneighborhoods.org. Plus, see our stories on the WOSU mobile app. And you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you back here next week on Columbus Neighborhoods.
I'm going home, I'm out of here, but I can stick around for maybe one more beer.
your Columbus neighborhoods is provided by
At American Electric Power, we've been proud sponsors of WOSU Public Media for many years and strong supporters of our headquarters city here in Columbus, both downtown and in neighborhoods like yours.
State Auto Insurance Companies, transforming to become a digital provider of auto, home, and business insurance. And for nearly 100 years, committed to the people and neighborhoods of Central Ohio. State Auto. The Columbus Foundation, smart philanthropy for a smart city. ColumbusFoundation.org. Bailey Cavalieri, your relationship with your law firm doesn't need to be complicated, it just needs to be right. CODA keeps our community moving forward. Falgren Moortime Marketing and Communications. Think wider. Ohio Health focuses on you and your family with a mission to improve the health of our communities. Women in Philanthropy at Ohio State, changing lives by giving together. And by contributions from these and other Columbus area families who support WOSU. Thank you.